All right, Rip City Drive. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me coming up at 5:20. And then tomorrow, we're going to hear from Dave Softy Mahler from 93.3 FM KJR up in Seattle. You know, he's got a take on the Trailblazers potentially moving. He doesn't think it's going to happen at all. So we'll get his take tomorrow on the show. You can jump on board right now, 503-248-0620. We have a Hops Ticket Tuesday, which got pushed back to Wednesday. So I've got a 4-pack of tickets. We'll give those away coming up at 5 o'clock. And this weekend, Sunday, down at the Rose Quarter campus, it's Pup City. It's a dog walk put on by the Trailblazers. You can register now. Just go to trailblazers.com. And it's going to support the main nonprofit for the day, One Tail at a Time, which does a great job of taking in foster animals, providing a foster home, and then eventually adoption. But they care about animals the way we do. And I'll be down there on Sunday with Bubba Shots. And I'll be down there hanging out with the little wiener dog. And he's excited. And he always loves to go on bye-byes. So I'll be down there with Shots. You can come hang out. Blaze the Trail Cat's going to be down there. I don't really know if Shots is a big fan of Blaze. A little too big for his liking, but that's okay. So Sunday, the weather's going to be nice. Man, the weather has been good lately. Yesterday was fabulous. You know, the one other thing I was going to tell you about, you know, the playing lesson, it's really cool that I did yesterday out at the reserve with Coach Nick from Golf Tech. Just the little things that pop up. And someone had mentioned to me, do you listen to the sound of Dame's voice because it brings you comfort after you hit a bad shot on the golf course? There are a few things that can calm me after I hit a bad shot. It drives me insane. I wouldn't be surprised if I die one day because I stab myself with one of my golf clubs. You know, like the shot where you're set up perfectly and then you blade one across the green or something like that. Those are the type of things that drive me insane. In fact, it makes me just want to, whack myself with a club. I did get hit with a golf club when I was like 5 or 6 or somewhere in that area. I was outside playing with my friend Dayton, who lived right next door, and we were playing with my dad's golf clubs, and he took a swing and accidentally whacked me in the face. I've still got a scar. I don't have a mirror, so I don't know which side it's on, but I've got a big scar. Almost took out my eye. I did not die, though, but that was messy. I just remember my dad picking me up and holding me away from him as he walked me into the bathroom because blood was shooting out of my face. Anyways, you know, there were 2 shots yesterday. One shot, hole number 1, great drive, great second shot. So I'm set up perfectly, 46 yards, 50 yards away from the green. But the way that fairway is situated, it's uneven. And so my chip shot, my third shot, was a short little chippy, but the ball was below my feet. And, of course, I bladed it across the green and ended up taking a bogey on the hole. I was, again, one of those many moments on the course where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to end it right now. I'm going to put this thing to my face, and I'm done. But what we were able to do after, the round is he was showing me on video with the shot with the ball below my feet on a short little chippy like that, one, get a little bit closer to the ball in stance, and then have more bend in your knees so you're getting underneath the ball. Little things like that, which are nice. And there was a couple of shots where I hit more of a push fade, and it was just one little thing he showed me on video where I was just leaving the club face a little bit too open on takeaway, and therefore it required too much to close the face on the downswing before impact. Little things that, you can feel, but you're not really sure what's going on. Having the coach out there where you can look at the video right away, it's pretty awesome. And that's one of my favorite things about it. So that's Coach Nick. But yes, golf brings a variety of different frustration to your life. But it also brings great joy because it's so hard that, when you have a day where you're compressing the ball, you're hitting it well, getting crispy contact, it's intoxicating. It is awesome. It's great. It's fun. It's good times. I'll be out there this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Forest Hills. Mark is doing a heck of a job. The course, oh my gosh, fabulous. The reserve was in great condition, as is Langdon Farms right now. So good. And it was great in the tournament on Monday because this guy we played with, Scott Belt, he is, let's just put it this way, he gets double butt cheeks into his drives. He was, averaging about 290. A little windy out there, but 290. Yeah, it hits good, crispy contact. It was nice. Very nice. Kyle Nishida, very good golfer as well. 503-248-0620. One of the things Dame talked about at the press conference was rehab. And the one thing I was certain of when I saw the injury go down, you know how Dame works with his diligence, the mental toughness. He's going to put himself through the work that is required to get himself right. And here he is talking about that.
I literally, after I tore my Achilles and I felt it, and I was sitting on the floor, I grabbed it and I rolled over and I sat up. And the first thought that I had to myself was like, I'm about to come back from an Achilles. That was literally my first thought, like on my kids. That was the first thing I thought of. And we got to the back, and when the doctor said, you tore your Achilles, like I think everybody else had more pity for me than I did. Like I had the PTs, like, about to cry and all of that stuff. Like I didn't cry. Even when I got by myself, I didn't cry. And it wasn't like a prideful thing. My mind automatically went to like, I got to fight for something. I know it's going to be a long journey. I know it's a challenge mentally, and I kind of shifted right there to what I knew was coming. And then it was, just kind of learning more about it, talking to Aaron Rodgers and KD and Rudy Gay, all these guys that experienced it and handled it differently. But I never had that moment of like pity or any of those things with none of my injuries, honestly. But this one I know is like probably the biggest one of my career. And like you said, it's a mental battle, but if I don't lose those. If it's a mental battle, those battles that I don't lose. If it's physical, it's possible, but a mental battle, I'm just not gonna lose.
Love that. Yeah, I'm Dame. I'm not going to lose a mental battle. That's the right approach. Who was it? Sam Bowie. When I talked with him, he's like, hey, I did everything in my power to get right, but my body just didn't cooperate. But he can live with that because he did the work necessary to get himself right, but his body just didn't cooperate. The things that are out of your control. But Dame will handle the things that are within his control. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Brian No Fox Sports Radio at 5:20. We'll get dating tips from Celeste coming up at 4:20. Hope you're enjoying your Wednesday. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. And don't forget, Colin Cowherd now live weekdays 9 to noon here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 4 o'clock chat here. What's going on, my friends? We start with baseball, where the Mariners got hammered by the Brewers today, 10-2. They're now 5.5 back in the West. They open up a 4-game set against the Angels in Los Angeles tomorrow. Shohei Ohtani has now done something that no other Dodger has done, a home run in 5 straight games. The Dodgers struggling of late, but today able to get the job done as they top the Twins by a score of 4-3. Elsewhere in the NFL, Cards top pick Walter Nolan's going to miss the start of camp with a strained calf. Giants coach Brian Daboll says Russell Wilson is their starting quarterback. Rookie Jackson Dart is going to back him up. You can now hear the Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays 9 to noon here on 620 Rip City Radio. And Pup City, the dog walk with the Trailblazers, Sunday, 9 o'clock at the Rose Quarter. Sign up now at trailblazers.com. Yeah, I love Rush. Really nice. Michael Shacker is like the master of pointing out news stories that I never needed to know about. Like this one right here from TMZ. A Connecticut couple has been charged with lewd or lascivious exhibition after they were accused of hanky-panky on a flight from New York to Florida and not stopping when they noticed the kids watching, according to police. Just what you want your kids to see on an airplane. Someone trying to order up a little, shall we say, oral services.
Yeah, what was the name of the airline?
JetBlue.
Oh, is that false advertising then?
It's crazy. People are crazy. You can never underestimate the human being. And you can add that to the list of things that you can see on an airplane. And there's a long list of just crazy stuff. Now, people are crazy. It's bad enough that they get on wearing their pajamas. They bring their own pillows now. Some people just take off the sandals or the shoes and expose their bare feet, which is a problem. People are gross. And people treat the airplane like it's their bedroom. You cannot be having, quote, hanky-panky on an airplane, and then when kids notice, just continuing on with the hanky-panky. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't have a problem with you desiring hanky-panky. We all do. But you can't do that on a plane. At least go back and try and jam into that ridiculous bathroom that's not even big enough for one person. At least try and sneak in there where you have some privacy, but not in the friggin' plane, you morons. Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Not unbelievable, but it kind of is. Gross. Yeah, people on the planes, very rude from what I've noticed. They say a lot of crazy stuff. I still blame that pig for giving me COVID when she was dropping all the F-bombs. And because it was louder on the plane, you're always talking louder. So she was basically yelling F-bombs. It's like, what are you doing? There are people around. It's free speech. Okay. You're not going to have any courtesy for the person next to you or in front of you or behind you? Hey, Dad, what are they doing? Just a little hanky-panky, son. Don't mind them. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. We got a long flight. They're just looking for a little relief. That's all. Oh, thanks, Dad. I appreciate the information. Ridiculous. I mean, that is disgusting. We have to sit on those seats, you freaks. Ugh. That's the problem. When you get on a plane, it's just, there's a lot of things about it. First of all, there's a lot of problems. You get to the parking structure. You're scrambling to find a parking spot, and it's really expensive. Or you go through the hassle of going cheap on the parking, and then you have to wait for the shuttle bus and jam onto that thing with a bunch of other people. That's a problem. And then when you finally arrive, you have to now tag your own bags, or if you're smart like I am, you just fit everything you need into a carry-on regardless of how long you're going to be gone. And now I've got to walk like 2 miles to get down to the E gate, so I'm exhausted. And then you get on a plane that you have no control over, and you're around people in their pajamas with their feet exposed, and now engaging in, quote, hanky-panky in front of the plane. I don't even know what to say. 503-248-0620. So once again, Shacker, that's another black mark on you for pointing out a story I did not need to know anything about.
Need you to be informed. Thank you for informing the audience.
There you go. Trista Riley allegedly decided to get dirty on a JetBlue plane early Saturday by allegedly performing hanky-panky on Christopher Drew Arnold, according to court documents obtained by TMZ. All right. It's very friendly. It's just trying to be a member of the Mile High Club. Oh, by the way, Happy Gilmore comes out on Friday on Netflix. And I listened to an interview with Adam Sandler, and he made a very good point I hadn't even thought about. He was asked about the process of what it's like to have a movie released on Netflix and not in the theaters. And he said the premiere that they had, it was like 1,000-seater, and there were a lot of people and stuff, so it was pretty nice. But the difference is that in Netflix, it's global. So he said there's nowhere you can go now without being noticed. And that's a big deal. That's very interesting to me. But I'm excited about the movie, and all I hope is that he did it right. I have a certain attachment to certain things in my life that I don't want them to be disturbed. That's all. I don't want them to be disturbed. The first Happy Gilmore is a classic. Hilarious, and there were a lot of good people in it, including Carl Weathers. Rest in peace. So if it comes out and it's a bad movie, then it's going to tarnish the brand, and you don't want that. But if it comes out and it's awesome after 30 years, then it's going to be a celebration. So Adam Sandler is one of those guys, like a lot of actors, where he's had some absolute home runs and he's had some real big duds. I just hope that Happy Gilmore, which has such a great place in the comedy genre, in a quasi-sports movie, I just hope he does it right. And hopefully with that much time to prepare and get it right, that it's going to be good. So we'll see. We shall see. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. A couple of things I wanted to hear from Dame at that press conference I want to listen to with you. He was just talking about the current group of guys on the roster. And, of course, I think what we were most excited about last year in the second half of the season was the young guys, the versatility, the energy, most importantly, the defense. I think they were number 6 in defensive rating over the last half of the season, which is terrific. And Dame shared his thoughts.
More than anything, watching them. You know, I was able to watch a lot of games. Like, we played, if I played a 7 o'clock game, by the time I would get home, it would be, you know, the West Coast games coming on. So I caught a lot of the games. And like I said, I watch closely. And, you know, I watch the Trailblazers specifically and I'm always looking like, how do I fit in? That's just my natural way of thinking, because to me, this is like my team. Like, this is who I've always seen myself with. So I watched it with that type of mentality, even if it was to never happen. And I saw how they competed. You know, I saw how they cheered for each other on the bench, you know, regardless of who was finishing the game. How they shared the ball. You know, one game I might see Shea go crazy, and then it might be Ant against us. And then, you know, Denny might have a 5-game stretch where he killing, and I'm just looking like, man, this is one of those teams that's coming along, you know. And like I said before, those same old teams are kind of aging out, and you know, you see OKC just won it this year, and you see Indiana snuck in there and made a run. And then you see, like, New York, you know, it's a lot of these younger teams, Houston, San Antonio, that's kind of like moving in. And even during the season, you know, I was telling my cousin that lived with me, like, I was putting the Blazers in that same category, you know, even though they're not one of these teams that people want to say it about. because I watched so many games, I could see what was happening, and that's how I viewed the team.
All right, there's Dame. You got to love that. So he's got great insight. He's paid attention, and he's aware of what's going on. And he continued to expand on that with the current group.
I think one thing that when we all sat down and this idea kind of started to move towards me signing back here, obviously I'm gonna look at the basketball situation. We play basketball and you want to win basketball games. So a lot of people, may look at it as a family decision, and obviously anybody would have their family be a part of a decision that they make, but this was just as much a basketball decision. I've watched the team even at a distance. I've followed and stayed in touch with what was going on, and looking at how the league is transitioning and how it's changing. It's not the same old thing no more. It's young teams that guard and that have depth and that compete, that are connected. And this team has all of those things. Maybe because it's Portland, people may not be willing to say it, but it's all there. From the talent to the depth to having it on both sides of the ball, it's all there. And that's something that I believed in when I looked into a decision like this. So the personal part, the family, the basketball, the fact that this opportunity came unexpected, being waived, it just felt like like I said, it just felt like the perfect timing and the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, that's a long way from now. Obviously, I'm more excited right now to have Dame back, and like he said, just pouring into our young guys. I want to see Scoop and Shaden take a step this year. Of course, I coach these guys very hard, but it's always different when you're getting that mentorship and that tutelage from a guy that wears a jersey. And to have Dame and to have Drew and have these guys pouring into him, I'm really, really excited about that. And then when we get to that point, we get there, But I'm really excited about what we've been able to do this summer and what our team looks like right now. And when Dame is able to come back, we'll be super ready for him. But I'm really not even thinking about a year from now. I'm thinking about this year.
All right, there you go. So we'll see. Bill Owen brought up the same point. I don't know how it's going to play out after the rehab year with minutes and rotation, this and that. And frankly, I don't care right now. There's plenty of time to worry about that down the road. Right now, just Dame mentally embracing the rehab and getting himself right. And more importantly, the young guys continuing to grow through camp in the season. And again, I'll say it again, the thing that they need more than anything for this rebuild to go smoothly is the development of Scoot and Shaden. If they get that, everything's going to be fine. All right, 503-248-0620. Joel reached out to me on Twitter or X, going back to that story of the hanky-panky on the JetBlue. Hey, Chad, I agree. People are gross. Look up the story of the Connecticut State Trooper spitting in reporters' faces. No, Joel, you're pulling a Shaka right now. I'm not going to look it up. I regret looking up the story on the JetBlue. Like I said, it's bad enough that we have to stare at people's bare feet and people wearing pajamas and just being themselves on a plane. I don't need that. But now we have to worry about hanky-panky in the front row with your kids around. All right, 503-248-0620. Brian No Fox Sports Radio talking football at 520. And we'll get dating tips with Celeste coming up next. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Celeste Trapp from Harem is in studio once again for today dating tips, which is nice. Now, you've been doing some travel lately. You haven't noticed any hanky-panky going down on the plane?
Oh, you just told me about this story, Chad.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just saying, beware.
Luckily, I was not flying. Drove to Central Oregon for a week. You know where I stayed was at the Crosswater Resort, which, have you played there?
I have not, but I talked to someone that just played it last week, and it said it is phenomenal.
Oh, were they there for the member guest tournament?
Yes.
Oh, that's when I was there.
Oh,
Yeah,
how
looked
was
like
it?
They were having, well, I didn't play.
But it
I
looks
was,
beautiful.
The house was, it was almost on the first hole. So
Your
it was fun
eyes
to,
told
I was
you it was
there in
nice.
spirit.
Good.
Yeah. And then we went to Crescent Lake, which is amazingly beautiful. I've been there in the winter, like 20 years ago. They have these cool rustic cabins where I think it's like a 14-mile track around the lake, which of course is frozen in the winter.
Awesome.
And you can snowmobile all around it.
Yeah.
So that's what I went in there in the winter. But in the summer, it's magnificent. And it's the crystal clear water. I shouldn't tell everybody because now it might not be
You're
as easy
giving
to
up
get
the
to.
secrets.
Yeah. But yeah, beautiful spot.
I'm jealous. You know, Central Oregon really is one of the great places. And I know there are a lot of people, especially affluent people, moving into that area because you can get out there, get a nice spot, and it's a little more open, less people around, and you've got great activities like golf and different things. You got access to the river. There are a lot of people that like to vacation out there during the summertime. It's fabulous.
Well, all the Californians are coming in now, so you can't really get a deal. But yeah, it's still a beautiful place to live and visit for sure.
And that's great. Have you been able to play any pickleball or anything
I
of that
have,
nature lately?
yeah.
How's it going?
You know, still working on the skills. There's a lot of work in progress happening. But
Do you play with some people that are pretty good?
most people I play with are about equal, but sometimes when I do like the pickup open play games, there'll be people, yes, that are definitely at a higher level, which is great because you really start to play better if you play with people above you.
Well, I was playing with my uncle recently, and he was a tennis player. He loves pickleball, and he's like 80 years old, and I thought, I'm going to kick his ass.
No.
And he dominated
Yeah.
me, and what I learned is that I was spinning – he just gets me moving around too much. And
Yeah.
he's really
it's like
good
racquetball. When you watch
Yes.
good racquetball players, they'll just
They
stand in the
don't
same
move.
spot. It's amazing. I don't know how they do it.
his ability to anticipate, and then he's really good at getting some wicked spin on the ball to get it to
Yeah.
bounce away from me or into me. And I was just impressed. I was like, okay. I told him, I said, I went in arrogant thinking I was going to smoke you, and you just made me look like a fool. And he just
Yeah.
kind of laughed. He's like, just experience,
Just
Chad.
More practice.
More
Yeah.
practice. All right, today's topic I like, dating tips.
Yeah. Not just any dating tips. So I have 3 things to help close the first date, to get the second date.
To get the second
Yeah.
date. All right, see, these are the reason why I love dating tips, Celeste. I'm going to be honest with you. My entire life, every time I go on a date, I never know exactly how to handle it, what to do, or even to decide what to do for the first date. Like, I don't know what the best activity is for the first date. I don't know exactly how to go about it. And then when I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, does she even like what I'm saying or what's going on right now? Like, it's a big mystery to me. It has been for years.
Well, I don't
I'm
think you're
fascinated by the
alone.
whole process. Do you feel the same way sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at it as it's a numbers game, right? And you just got to look at it as a way to meet somebody. Maybe you make a new friend. Maybe you meet a new, relationship.
Yeah.
But don't take it too serious and just be light and easy.
So by
But-
taking it that way, where you look at it as just an opportunity to meet a new person, you're not putting as much pressure on yourself
Right.
where it's like, I've got to make this work. I can't screw this up because I've got to find a way to close the deal and get that second date.
Right, because that's not going to come across well, is it? No, no. But so the first tip I have
Yes.
is to be a gentleman. So I don't know what you think about that, but I know over the years, the characteristics of men in courting has changed over time. And I think a lot of guys think maybe women don't really desire that or want that, or maybe are even put off by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want guys to know that I don't think that's true for most women. I don't think any woman would come back from a date and be like, oh my God, he was such a gentleman. He opened the door for me. He opened my car door. He walked on the side of the street, walked me to my car and after the whatever happy hour. I mean, I don't think a woman would ever be put off by that.
Uh-huh.
And I think what men have to realize is that women come to the table, they've already had other relationships. They've already dated probably, quite a bit in their life. And there are other men who are gentlemen, right? And so really you're competing with her past experiences and somebody else has potentially raised the bar.
Yeah.
So it may not be that she's going to write you off by any means by not being a gentleman, but why not do it? It's easy and it can stand out from those who aren't doing
Uh-huh.
those great things that really can make her feel, like a woman.
Okay, this is a great topic. So I grew up, you and I have very similar life experience. I can only speak to, the way that I was taught as I grew up. When I go on a date, if I ask someone on a date, I always do the same thing. I open the door, I
Mhm.
walk someone to their car after the date, I pay for dinner or whatever activity we're going to do, and I always try to operate like that. So what you're saying is that's not a bad thing.
No,
Be-
it's a great thing, Chad.
But
That's a
so
great thing, but it's not always common.
okay.
So that's why I want to establish it.
So if you have even so, I guess what you're saying is that let's say you have the rare individual who doesn't really want you to open the door for them or necessarily pay for them. They're not going to be offended because you're trying to be a gentleman.
I would hope not. And I really don't think there's very many women like that.
Uh-huh.
But I think
what are the chances that they haven't been treated by a gentleman? Like that they might be taken back or think it's really nice that, hey, this
if you're
person's going out of their way.
dating, a younger woman, maybe that is the case. She is not accustomed to really be treated like a lady.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think she'd be put off by it
Yeah.
by any means.
Yeah.
I would hope that if somebody was feeling like that was not the right thing to be doing, that they would, subtly make it like, oh no, don't worry about it. I get my own doors or something, some comment like that.
Yeah.
But I think that for the most part, most women, you're going to get points by being a gentleman at every turn that you can.
That's great. And in your experience, in your dating life, when a man is being a gentleman, you appreciate it.
Definitely. Yeah. So that is number one. Number two is make her feel desired. And that's before, during, and after the first date.
Okay. What are some
So-
ways that guys can operate to indicate to the lady that
Right.
she's desired?
So you set a plan, you've asked the person out, they accept, let her know, like, hey, I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Like just those simple words. It's like, oh, okay, like he wants to see me. That's great. When you see her, like make her feel important, make her feel heard and that you're curious about her.
Mm-hmm.
Try to find out what she's, passionate about, what she's interested in, like maybe something she's working on right now that, can also put her in the seat to be the one, talking, which can alleviate some pressure from you. Because some people, when they're nervous, they talk more. And sometimes that doesn't work for them. So, ask her questions, be curious, and let her get excited about something that she wants to share. And, give her compliments, make her feel good about herself so that she's like, hey, I really feel good when I'm with this person and I want to see more of them.
That's great. So maybe not staring at your phone, not being distracted in
Definitely don't stare at your
conversation.
phone. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, at the end, don't be afraid to say, hey, I'd really love to see you again. And that is going to, leave her feeling like, okay, I think that went well. I think, I showed up and he acknowledged, like that I'm worth seeing again. And it just makes somebody ready to have a second date.
Now, if you take that approach where you say, hey, I'm really looking forward to it, I would love to see you again. Like, you don't think that's being too easy? Like, that's a good approach? Or should you play it a little more coy in terms of?
Well, I know there's, the dating games can get really exhausting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you call, right away? Do you wait? I mean,
Now, these are things
there's-
that guys talk about all the
yeah,
time.
and
Like, dude, don't make it so
there's-
obvious, man. Don't do that,
everyone's different on what turns them on or what they want to, how they want to be treated. But I think,
What do you think a
I
woman wants to hear in that situation?
I think that women want to, one, feel confident. They don't want to be sweating it out. Like, does he like me? Does he
Yeah.
want to see me again? Like, so just establishing that towards the end of the date is great. Not having somebody being like too overtly anxious.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, let's do it tomorrow. Or what are you doing in 2 days? Or, like,
Yeah, you don't
try
be,
to
yeah, you don't
make
need
them
pressure.
miss you
Yeah.
a little bit, right? Like, so don't seem too available.
Yeah.
But also, people are a little put off. And with people that are doing online dating, people know that potentially they're seeing other people, but nobody really wants to feel that way.
Yeah.
So don't make it too obvious. Like,
Yeah.
especially
got a
if
date
you
the
lined
next
up
2
your
nights
dates
with other
one after
dudes.
another, which is not really a good thing I don't think, to line up, one after another. But in the same day, I'm sure you've heard stories like that, like, oh, I got to leave now because I've got to go across town and have another online date. But
Yeah, no one wants to hear that. You got to do what you got to do, but I don't need to know that. But I like that. So at the end of the night, you have a good time. It's like, hey, I'd love to see you again. You don't have to bring up a day or what time you're going to meet for the second time, but just let it be known, like, hey, I'd like to spend some more time with you.
Right. And another thing, too, is go into the date with like a strategy in mind. So if you think you're going to want to see this person again, think about, well, what are some things we could do on a second date? And then work that into the conversation. So, maybe it's talking about, finding out that she likes pickleball, or maybe you already know that from her online profile, or maybe it's some street fair that's happening next weekend or something. Somehow find a way to like work that into the conversation so that you can follow up at the end with like, hey, did you want to go try to, show me all your skills on the pickleball court next week? And just playfully work that in and get a reading. But the one thing is, I think some men will read in too much to the response they get from something like that, right? They feel like they're putting themselves out there and like, what if she says no? So, you don't want to put her on the spot and be specific. Like, okay, well, let's put it on the calendar, but just throwing it out there, and then you can work the logistics out over a text. And then she, has a space to feel like she could back out if she needs to.
I kind of like that approach because if you say, hey, we should get together and play pickleball sometime, or I'd love to see you again, you're just letting it be known that I would like to see you again, but you're not putting the pressure on her or putting her on the spot in the moment at the end of the date, the first date, to be able to make a decision.
Right.
That's good.
Right.
All right, so number one is be a gentleman. Number two, how do we word number two?
Make her feel desired.
Make her feel desired. And what is number three?
And number three, I think, is the most important, and that is to be the masculine energy. So it takes two to dance, a follow and a lead, right?
Uh-huh.
And same with the dance of courting and relationships. And so what it means to be a masculine energy, it doesn't mean being, ultra assertive or controlling.
Yeah.
It means making her feel taken care of, making it feel like you have things in control. And that puts a woman at ease, and it makes her feel and be more in touch with her feminine energy.
Yeah.
So the way that shows up is, from the very beginning, like making the plan. So deciding, first of all, how much you want to invest in this date. So if you've never met the person, you're not sure if there's chemistry, maybe you don't want to spend much or anything at all, but maybe you are willing to, pay for happy hour or something. So decide that, and then give her some choices of things that you're comfortable, paying for. So that could be coffee, it could be a hike, or going to the farmer's market or something like that. So establish, some options for her to choose from. And then choose, like, based on, ask her where she'll be coming from. So if she's coming from work, she's coming from home, wherever, so that you can now narrow down, like, some options of places to go within that. So let's say you're going to go to happy hour. You find out what part of town, and then you find some really great places. Use, Google reviews or friends or Yelp or whatever to find some good spots.
Yeah, if she works and lives in Gresham, you probably don't want to set up a date out in Beaverton.
Right. That would be rude. And pick something just a little bit closer to her. You don't need to go exactly where she is if you're quite a ways away from each other, but, make it a little closer to her than to you.
All right. So
that's the first thing. Just really establishing, taking control of the date. So then when you actually go to the date, the logistics of being in control. So if you're at a restaurant, you're having coffee or you're having happy hour, managing the service. So if, the wait staff hasn't come over, being able to summon them. And I learned something from an ex about the power position. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
I had not either. And I didn't really care for we were in a relationship. So it was how he delivered it maybe was a little less smooth, but he had a great point. So the power position in a date is the person that's facing out to the restaurant so they can summon the waiter. So if you need the bill, if you need another glass of wine or whatever, that you're in a position to be able to get their attention. But at the same time, if you're in a restaurant where that power position is really the desirable position, the other position has they're facing a wall.
Yeah.
then don't take the best seat because she's not going to understand, and nor do you want to explain the power position.
Yeah, it's probably not
Right?
a good first date
Not good
topic.
for the first date. But recognize that if you have your back to the restaurant, that you're going to have to turn and potentially, maybe even get up out of your chair to
Yeah.
get, service. Because sometimes, service is lacking. And so if you see that, your date is like so thirsty over her drink that
Yeah.
she really needs a refill, then you need to be on top of that and just be in charge. I have a story actually about that. Is a date I had where I walked in and his back was to me as I walked in, which I thought was a strange position because he was waiting for me. And I wasn't late. He was early. He had already ordered a glass of wine, which is another thing. If you arrive, and I think arriving early is another thing that's both masculine energy and being a gentleman, is saying, I'll come a little early to make sure we get a table.
Yeah.
Or I'll make the reservation. But he was sitting with his back as I came into the door. So I found him, and he had already ordered a drink and was, quite a ways through it.
Yeah.
And again, I was on time, so he had just gotten there early. So he did that part right. He got there early and got the table. But so when I sat down, he had his wine, and I sat there for like 15 minutes with no wine, no glass, no drink, right? And he just did not clue in. He might have been nervous, but I'm just putting this out there. So if somebody's in this type of situation,
He wasn't in a power position.
not only that, so even you're right, he wasn't in the power position, number one, but two, he didn't even think about it. So even if you're not in the power position, you can get up or you can be concerned about the fact that,
Well, you would think. The first
service
thing I
needs
would
to
have
be
asked is
brought
like,
to the table.
hey, what would you like to drink?
So, yeah. So, and the other thing, actually, following up on that is, and no, he didn't get a second date, in case you're wondering. He drank his wine, and then, I'm halfway through mine, and the waiter comes by and it's like, would you like another drink? And he's like, yes. And he should have asked me as well, oh, would you like another drink? Both my date and the waiter, neither of them did. So the waiter comes back with a carafe of the 8 ounces or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, puts it on the table, fills him up a little bit. And at that point, he should have offered me some of his wine, which was the same wine I was drinking, and he did not. So these are just things being in tune to making sure that your date is being taken care of. That really puts you in that masculine energy position that makes her feel taken care of and really grounded and safe around you. So
That's terrific. Now, the other question I have is, what are the best activities for a first date?
well, again, it's just going to depend on how much money you want to spend.
Uh-huh.
And I do just want to add one thing about that is if you go into this saying, I'm going to pay, and that bill comes, you need to grab it right away.
Yeah.
Because it is more than nerve-wracking for a woman to see the bill sitting there on the table. So the man might have every inclination, every thought that he's going to be paying for it. He just doesn't think to take it in front of him.
Yeah.
But the woman sitting there the whole time going, okay, do I need to reach for a card? How does this work? And it's distracting. And it's just such a relief when a guy just takes the bill. And I think this is the same in business meetings. Anytime, if you ever plan on taking the bill,
Yeah.
take it right away.
Take the bill.
Oh, and the last thing I want to say about the masculine energy is showing up with confidence. Masculine energy always feels like they're in control. Now, you might not be feeling that confident. So
Yeah, never. No, not
you
going
need to
into a
just work.
first date.
You and part of the way you can come across as confident is sitting up straight, not allowing yourself to fidget. If you're pulling on your skin or you're kicking your foot or tapping your fingers, things like that. Just, be aware of the propensity you have to do these things and just be present in the moment to resist.
Yeah.
And by letting her light up about things she's comfortable in, it will just take some of that pressure off you too, to think about what you want to be talking about. But you asked about what are some good things to be doing.
Yeah,
So
what
once
settings
you
do
establish what your budget is,
Yeah.
right? If you don't want to, you can do a lot of things without spending a lot of money. I think going on walks and a hike is really great. And it's very casual. You don't have to sit there and just stare at each other the whole time. You can get somebody's energy and see if there's chemistry in a casual way. And if nothing else, you're getting steps in, which is great. It's not a waste of time. So I think that is a great grabbing coffee and doing that is a great first date.
I love walks and movement. I think that's kind of nice. But for you personally, what settings do you enjoy the most for a first time? when you're getting a chance to know someone.
Well, those are the two. Those
No,
are the things
those
I
are the
like
things.
to do. And then, well, I don't think anyone wants to be stuck with somebody
Yeah.
for more than an hour, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
need
because
to-
if you meet them for the first time and you're like, yeah, this isn't.
well, yeah, and then it's like I don't think dinner is a good idea unless you've already met the person.
Oh.
Like I just don't. I think that is like way too much money to spend on somebody you don't want to have a second date with, and too much time. But I think also setting the time so when you come to the date, like make it clear, like, oh, okay, I'm just going to set my timer because my parking's only fed for the next hour,
Yeah.
right? So that sets an end time that you can always extend. Because if you like the person, you'd be like, okay, well, do you want to go hit this other place or do this or whatever? And then you can I'll just need to feed my meter, right? But make sure you have that kind of way to get out. But know that you can always extend it.
Oh. I always just roll the dice and hope I don't get a ticket because I hate paying for parking.
Well, whether you pay or not, just let her know that you've got to go in case you do want to go.
That's great.
And then setting the timer is good anyway, whether you're not sure if you like the person or not. But that just helps it so you're not sitting there looking at your phone all the time or your watch.
Yeah.
Because that makes somebody feel like you're not present or you're ready to go.
Yeah. If someone looks
And-
down at their watch, that's unfortunate.
But if you're just looking at like your parking, or you have to be to a meeting or somewhere else,
yeah.
just let them know, like, oh, I set the timer, because I have to leave by this time or I got to pay my parking or whatever it is, so that they anticipate that this timer is going to be going off. And,
Yeah.
and then give yourself like 10 minutes so you're not racing out right afterwards.
Okay, this is perfect. So let's walk through the three again. So number one was be a gentleman. Number two was make her feel desired. Number three was masculine energy.
Be the masculine energy.
Be the masculine energy. And then number four, even though it's not one of the three, the additional tip would be once you establish, the budget and what you want to accomplish, then try to pick things that would be, closer to the area where she's going to be based on work, home, or whatever.
Yeah, just being conscientious and being a gentleman, being considerate. I mean, that goes a really long way. Again, because you're competing with other men who she's had relationships with or she's dated or is potentially dating at the same time. So the little things that you do that stand out from the rest are going to make it more likely that you're going to get that second date or third date and fourth date, et cetera.
Excellent. Celeste Trapp, Harem in studio. As always, I appreciate the time. That was good.
Thanks, Chad.
Good tips. I certainly need that. And I got to remember that. Like, what are the tics that I'm doing? Am I chewing my fingernails or the things I do when I'm nervous? I'm a fingernail chewer.
I'm
so,
sure you're very smooth.
Well,
You're on the air, live on the radio. How could you not be?
yeah, conversation's not a problem. I can talk very easily, but I like that. The movement is good. And you're right. Dinner sometimes can be a trap if you're meeting someone for the first time because it's too long and it can be dicey.
Right. And but some people actually do meet in the wild and they already know they have chemistry or they already knew each other or maybe they had dated 10 years prior or, so that's a different story. But if it's really somebody out of the gate that you don't know, yeah, I would not recommend dinner. And then just decide, are you willing to pay for, and the one thing too is there are restaurants and bars that have walk-up service. So if you're like, I do want to do happy hour, but I'm not sure if I want to do 2 drinks each, maybe just one, you can go to the walk-up counter bars where you just kind of close out, you buy the 1 drink.
Yeah.
And then if she's like, fumbling for her credit card, you're like, no, I got it. And then you can say, but, playfully, like, you can get the second one if we decide to have one. And then, of course, if it comes around to the second drink, then it's going back up to the bar and ordering again. And if she's going to now say, okay, well, it's my turn. If you like her, it doesn't mean you have to take her up on it. Right?
Yeah.
So if she offers, you can say, oh, thank you so much. Maybe another time or next time.
Yeah.
And just keep putting her off like that. And sometimes, when you get further into relationship, which we'll have those conversations later, you can have a different conversation, but we'll leave that one hanging.
All right. That's awesome. Celeste Trapp, appreciate your time as always, Celeste.
Thanks, Chad.
All right. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, coming up at 5:20. You've got the Rip City Drive. What's Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio?
Well, did you learn anything?
All right. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio coming up at 5:20. This song was not one of my mom's favorites growing up, I can tell you that much. There are a lot of things. MTV, see what, still nothing takes the cake like Bo Derek, though. You know, I remember in the early days of HBO, and this is back in the early days of cable. We got cable put in the house. It was the greatest thing ever. But HBO came on, and my brother and I were like 3 inches away from the screen when we were watching the movie 10 with Bo Derek. And my mom came in the room. She's like, "What are you guys watching?" "Oh, I don't know, Mom." We didn't have HBO in the house much longer after that. That's the way it worked. Is this like a surgeon? This is Weird Al Yankovic. You know what I really would love to be a fly on the wall for? Because I know how this works with Weird Al. He'll reach out to the artists. He did with Kurt Cobain, too, and he's like, "Hey, I want to do Smells Like Teen Spirit." Can you imagine him reaching out to Madonna? "Hey, I know you've got this smash hit Like a Virgin, but I want to do a song called Like a Surgeon." And I'd love to see the reaction of the artists. Are they flattered? I would imagine most of them are flattered.
It's a way to get more fans.
I know. All
More
right,
money.
we'll keep things rolling. 503-248-0620 is the phone number. You can always listen on our free iHeartRadio app. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, our good brother. My brother from another mother coming up at 5:20. All right, 5 o'clock. What's up, my friends? Chad here. We start with Major League Baseball. The Dodgers top the Twins 4-3. 5 straight games. Shohei Ohtani has a home run. The Brewers hammer the Mariners by a final of 10-2. Seattle now 5.5 back in the West, and they'll open up a 4-game set tomorrow in L.A. against the Angels. From football, the Cards top pick Walter Nolan's going to miss the start of camp with a strained calf. And Giants coach Brian Daboll says Russell Wilson is their starting quarterback. Rookie Jackson Dart's going to back him up. You can now hear The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays on 620 Rip City Radio from 9 to noon. Pup City, the walk with your dog, put on by the Portland Trailblazers, coming up Sunday at the Rose Quarter. You can register now at trailblazers.com. I will be there with puppy shots, and Blaze the Trail Cat is going to be on hand. All right, Brian No Fox Sports Radio is going to stop by coming up in 20 minutes. I love talking ball with Bino. And I'm going to ask him about this electric horse. He did some type of bet deal with his girlfriend down in Las Vegas where they went around betting on electric horses. Didn't even know you could do that. I guess in Las Vegas you can bet on anything. Everything's a bet down there. Everything. So Brian No coming up at 5:20. If you want to jump on board, you can do so at 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. That is your telephone number. You can always listen to the show on our free iHeartRadio app. You can podcast everything there. And you can join on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/620 Rip City Radio. Everything you need is right there. You can see in studio. We do all of our live shows with the live stream, and you can check out older shows there as well. Now, it is a Hops Ticket Wednesday instead of Tuesday this week, and we got a 4-pack of tickets to give away coming up for Saturday, which is July 26th. The first pitch is at 6:35 out at Hillsborough Ballpark. And while you're out there, you can check out the brand new stadium, which is being erected as we speak. I ran into Kale Wambacher on Monday, and the GM for the Hops, one of the smartest guys I know. It was great to see him. But this is going to be Tri-City, Hillsborough, coming up on Saturday, first pitch at 6:35. So if you would like to go and sit in the Rip City Radio row, courtesy of me, call now, 503-248-0620. We'll keep this simple. First caller will get a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops and Tri-City coming up on Saturday. Weather's going to be nice. It's a great day to go check out some baseball, a little evening action out there in Hillsborough. Call now! 503-248-0620. But seriously, the construction on the new crib is awesome. 4-pack of tickets for the Hops. Call now. First caller gets a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops. Taking on Tri-City this Saturday out at Hillsborough Ballpark. 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now, and Michael Shacker will take care of you. 503-248-0620. You get a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops, and you can enjoy some baseball on me. You can't beat that. All right, I want to play this for you. I was texting with, was I texting with him? I think I was. I talked to him yesterday, and he was texting with me today, but the voice of the Trailblazers, Travis Demers, is in New York visiting his family. He's hanging out with mom and dad, and it's pretty cool. I've never met them face to face, but I've talked to him on the phone before. But his mom and dad are awesome, and so I'm glad that Trav's getting a chance to spend some time with them. But it's cool because he and his dad are big Yankee fans. So Travis knows one of the radio engineers that does Yankee games, and he was able to get he and his dad tickets for the game, and they get to go in and see some stuff behind the scenes before the game and stuff. I think they're going on, is it this weekend? It's in a couple of days. He and his dad are going to go. So it's a great father-son moment. where he and his pops get to hang out and go to a Yankee game, which is pretty cool. And his dad will be able to see some stuff behind the scenes. It'll be a good moment. But his dad, Lee, is also a musician, and he writes and has for years, writes his own music, composes. He does all these different things, very talented. And Travis was telling me about, I remember one time he shared a story where his dad's favorite song, not his dad's favorite song, the favorite song, Travis's, how do I say this? Travis's favorite song that his dad has written, he was telling me about it one day and said he wants to get the sheet of music and get a tattoo of that sheet of music on his body. And I remember him telling me the story. Well, he texted me today and he's like, dude, check this out. And so he sent me an MP3 of the song. And he also had a picture of the actual sheet music that he was talking about, that he wants to get the tattoo of, and he sent it over to me. And I just wanted to play a portion of this. It's from Lee Demers, and the title of the song is I'm Going to Get What I'm Going After. But Travis sent this over to me today and said, hey, check this out. This is a song I was telling you about. Lee Demers. Oh, come on. Come on, computer. Don't let me down. Oh, I can't play it. You've got to be kidding me. I hate it when that happens. So we're going to try it this way. You know, sometimes he texted to me, and then I get the song, and I emailed it to myself, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. Let's see if this works.
I'm gonna get what I'm going after, yeah. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna keep on slugging away until I make a dream of mine come true. Going strong, won't be long.
All right, there you go. This right here is Lee Demers, Travis's dad. I'm going to get what I'm going after.
You know you never get something.
I mean, that sounds really good.
You have to make mistakes, but something good.
I think I mentioned this before. I'm just a major fan of musicians because I have no musical talent whatsoever. So anyone that can write and compose their own music, I'm a big fan of that. But this is Travis's favorite song that his dad has created. And so he's going to get a tattoo. Now, I'm going to be one of those people at the end of my life. I'm going to set my own trend because I'll never get a tattoo. It's just not my thing. So, like, I was trying to think today, like, what is significant enough in my life to where I'd get a tattoo?
Puppy shot.
I'm not getting a puppy shots tattoo. Someone suggested I should do that, like, get his ashes after he passes away and get that mixed into the tattoo that I get. But I'm not getting a tattoo of puppy shots, even though I love him to death. I looked it up the other night. So Shotzers is, my little wiener dog, is 8 years old. And so I looked up the life expectancy of a dachshund, and it's somewhere between 12 and 16 years. So the way I look at it is I got, probably another, at least another solid, 5-6 years left with puppy shots. And that's good. It just sucks that we have to say goodbye to our little furry friends. But no, I'm not getting a tattoo of puppy shots. I was trying to think, though, like, what would I get a tattoo of? Is there anything? Is there even a Bible verse or anything? I can't think of something. I just don't have a desire to get a tattoo. I'm not hating on anyone that does. I've seen some tattoos that are freaking awesome. I'm just not a tattoo guy. It's not my thing. I got my ears pierced when I was younger. I think I was like 17 when I got my first ear piercing, without parental permission, I might add. I was over at a friend of mine, a friend's house, Derek. I still remember his name, Derek. And I was over there with my buddy Corey, so we're all staying the night together. And he's like, hey, you want your ear pierced? And I was like, yeah, what the heck, let's do it. And Derek rammed a, little deal through my ear, and then boom, I had my ear pierced. My dad was really ticked off. It takes a lot. My dad is a very calm, smart, quiet guy. Like, I never know what he's thinking because he just doesn't say much. He was, why would you do that? Like, that got his juices going. I always feel like my dad, it's kind of like that scene in the Jackass movie where they were trying to get their mom to cuss. And so they didn't know what it would take to get it to happen, but they left like an alligator. They put an alligator in the vanity room with the washer and dryer. And she walked in and saw it, and she yelled like, oh, bleep. She dropped an S-bomb, and they were laughing their butts off. Like, that's my mom and dad. My mom and dad do not cuss. I'm not joking, ever. My brother and I got my mom to say damn it once, and we were laughing. Can I say that on the radio? My mom, because my mom's a little, she's got some Indian blood in her, so she runs a little bit hotter. So my brother and I, every once in a while, be like, dude, let's see if we can really tick off mom. I'm not suggesting you do this if you're a kid. It's a good way to get yourself whacked. Do parents even spank anymore these days? Back in my day, like the wooden spoon would come out. My mom would be furious. And then when my dad got home, bigger lumber would come out. If we terrorized mom during the day, we knew dad was going to drop the hammer on us. We knew that was coming. But yeah, we'd see what we could do too. And where am I going with this? I don't even remember now. I lost all train of thought. Was it about music?
That was about messing with your mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did. We got my mom. I've never heard my dad cuss ever. In my 49 years of life, my dad has never said a foul word ever. Not once. That's just the way he operates. He's my dad he's my hero. And I love him to death. And he's a very good man. So when my dad, he's just like the ultimate moral compass. He's not going to speak out of place. He's not going to say something crazy. He doesn't make rash decisions. And then I'm like, how did I turn out like an idiot like I did when I have such a great role model and example? I don't understand. I do not understand with the parents I have, how I wound up like that, like I did. And I have no musical talent. Now, who was it? Who's our guy? Rick Beato. So anyways, going back to songwriting, I watched an interview with Alan Parsons on the Rick Beato channel. You should check it out. And he was talking about the song Sirius. And Sirius, of course, is just a musical introduction into Eye in the Sky, which is a great song. But Sirius became a sports anthem because it was played during the Chicago Bulls introductions for a long time during the Michael Jordan era. And Alan Parsons was talking about that, and he's like, I never dreamed when I made that song that it would become a sports anthem. And he said that he never got paid or got any type of royalties for when it was played inside Chicago Stadium or United Center. Never got royalties for it. But like during the NBA Finals, when it was part of the television broadcast, he would get royalties for that. He wasn't bitter about that. He was just talking about the business of it. But very interesting. He also did work, very good engineer production, and did some stuff with the Beatles. Here it is, Sirius. Like for sports fans, when you hear this, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up because you know exactly what it means. And now the starting lineup for your Chicago Bulls. Yeah, this is awesome. The greatest intro music for any sporting event of all time, this song right here. And so if you're wondering, he said it, he considers Sirius and Eye in the Sky to be one piece. So he does not separate the two songs. Because on the album, it's Sirius leading right into Eye in the Sky. Yeah, this means one thing. It means MJ. Michael Jordan. And if I'm Alan Parsons, I don't have a problem with people thanking Michael Jordan because that's greatness, and this song is greatness. So what's the moral of all this? Don't upset your mom so your dad will come home from work and be upset and deliver more punishment. That's the moral. And I'm happy for Travis because he and his dad get to have a special moment at New Yankee Stadium this weekend. All right, when we come back, Brian No from Fox Sports Radio is going to join the show, and we'll talk some ball. I'll get his take on Dame returning. What does he think about that? You got the Rip City Drive. All right, my brother from another mother, Bino! Fox Sports Radio, Brian Noah is back. All right, let's start with this, buddy. I loved it. You put out a video and explained the entire situation. You and your woman went around the city of Las Vegas betting on electric horses. How on earth did you get into this? And I had no idea you could bet on electric horses until I saw your video. It's awesome.
Oh, man. Well, first off, it's always good to be with you here, Chad Doing.
Bino!
And, the electronic ponies is what I call them. It's just this – it's not quite a video game. I don't even know how you explain it. You know, it's just a fake track, and these fake little horses run around the track. And you have this odds screen in front of you, and you can bet – there are 6 horses. You can bet on either of the 6 to win the race outright.
Amazing. Or
they give you like a 2-horse combination. So you could have these wild long shot odds, you know, like 500 to 1 odds if like the 5 and the 2 horse finish first and second or whatever. So you could make all these random bets on these fake ponies. It's so fun. It's like, it's way better than a slot machine. It's like a slot machine on steroids because there's so much more entertainment value where you're betting on the 4 horse and whatever. It's in last place, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, like it hits the nitro boosters and just runs to the front. You're like, yeah, let's go. It's a lot of fun, man. So, yeah, we hit up a ton of different casinos and did the pony crawl a couple of weeks ago.
How did you do profit-wise? Did you take a loss or make a profit, or how did you and the lady turn out?
Well, stop me if you've heard this before, Chad, but – I started off badly. The first place I lost like $50, and the next place I won the $50 right back.
Yeah.
And then the next place I won close to another $50. And then it made a turn for the worse. You know, I ended up losing about 90, and man, Ilse's been on a cold streak over here. She lost about 200.
Wow.
So it was an unfortunate night financially, but it still was a lot of fun. And I got my steps in, Chad. I was all over Vegas looking for these pony machines, you know, because you get a list on the web, and most of it's not even correct, you know. So I'm walking around the Wynn like I'm a bloodhound, like trying to sniff out the electronic ponies. And so I got a lot of steps in that night.
That's awesome. Bino, Fox Sports Radio here on the Rip City Drive. I need your take on this because you worked and lived here in Portland. What was your reaction to Dame making the return back home to sign with the Blazers?
Well, I think it's partially really cool that he's back. And to me, my whole take was you don't know what you have until you lose it, you know, because the main reason Dame left Portland in the first place was because the Blazers weren't in a position to compete for championships, right? So he went to Milwaukee, and God bless him, right? Like, he needed to be in a situation where it was a competent supporting cast around him and he had a real shot to win a ring. And now coming back to Portland, you have to ask yourself, what's changed? Are they championship contenders now? It's like, no. Are they going to be championship contenders 2-3 years from now when he's healthy? No. You know, but his family is there. You know, his family and his kids are home. So being out in the middle of nowhere in Milwaukee and just watching boxing videos while you're by your lonesome, that gets old really quick.
Yeah.
So I think it was a complete perspective change for Dame, and I don't fault him at all for going to Milwaukee in the first place. But it's kind of interesting to me, like the main reason he left Portland to pursue a championship, that wasn't the main reason that factored into his return to Portland, right? It's funny how that worked out that way.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, when it comes to a franchise, like look at this situation with Dame. We don't know how it's going to turn out in regards to actual production on the court. He still has to rehab from the Achilles, but if a team makes a maneuver, let's say, for instance, that Dame doesn't return to form after the Achilles injury and never really contributes on the floor, but on the flip side, the team reestablishes a great connection with the fan base. You're able to right some wrongs of the past for all the fans that were upset that Dame was traded, and it brings in great business on the business side. So you benefit in every way, but the actual on-court production, can there still be a win with a signing like that, even if it doesn't work out on the floor the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I think that for both the Blazers and for Dame, you know, because for a while, and I get it. You know, Dame reached a place where he's like, okay, it's time to win a championship. You know, he had accomplished so much as an individual player. So even if he doesn't do that with Portland, yeah, there are many ways where it can be a success for him and it can be a win for him. First and foremost, his family. You know, you just heard Scotty Scheffler, right? Like before the latest major, the Open Championship, which he won easily. You know, he said, I don't get my fulfillment out of winning golf tournaments. You know, that's not the fulfillment I get in my life. I look for other things. And I think Dame's reached a point where that's probably true with him too. I don't know how else you would, you know, explain this move back to Portland. So I think that he looks for his fulfillment elsewhere, and that's fine too. That's fine. Now, he's going to compete. He's going to compete and try to work his butt off and win as many games as possible. But I don't think it's just unless he wins a championship, that's the only way it can be successful. I don't think he probably looks at it the same way right now anymore.
I really enjoyed those comments from Scotty Scheffler because I understood what he was saying, where I think he takes a big picture view, and I think it's hard for some people to relate to it because they look at winning tournaments or championships as the ultimate goal. And in some ways it is, but for Scotty, I totally get it, man. He's into the grind. Like, he loves the preparation. He loves the work. You put in the grind, but you finally get over the hump and win the trophy. You get the claret jug or whatever the case may be in whatever game or tournament you're playing, and you celebrate for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden it's on to the next tournament. So maybe winning the major isn't quite all that you think it is in terms of the work that he puts in. So I understood what he was saying, that, hey, I think the way he looks at it is that he looks at it as kingdom purposes, right? Where he wants to do things in the world that make an impact long term outside of the game of golf. And I respect that. I understood what he was talking about.
Yeah, I respect it too. And I completely understand where he's coming from. And to me, the funny twist of it all is that perspective, I think, helps him win more. You know, like, that's the thing, is he's not gripping to a fault.
Yes, good point.
You know, there are a lot of golfers where they're like, I got to win this major. This is my chance. This is my chance to finally win. And then it goes south. You know, and for Scotty to be like, hey, listen, I don't get my fulfillment out of winning golf tournaments. Those don't touch my heart the same way my family does. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to work. I'm going to try to win. This is what I've done my whole life, but just don't get it twisted. I don't look for that to be my fulfillment. I think that whole perspective helps him relax, and he's not gripping to a fault. I think that helps him win more.
We're talking with Bino, Fox Sports Radio here on the Rip City Drive. You know, a lot of rumors circulating right now that Nick Saban might be looking to make a return to coaching. So I'll ask you, at this stage in his life, do you think it's best for him to make a move to the NFL to try to get that right after his time in Miami, or should he look to go back to college? What's your take on Saban?
Wow, man, that'd be it'd be interesting to go to the NFL. You know, it sounds weird. I almost corrected myself, and it's like, no, he can go back to the NFL. He was in the NFL before. He was a really strong defensive coordinator, and I think that if he went back to the NFL, that would make more sense because the reason he talked about leaving college and leaving Alabama, he was like, it's hard to go into a player's home and look at his parents as if I'm going to be here for the next 4 years. You know, it's not just a 1-year commitment. They're looking at him to be there for the next 4 years. And so I don't know how he could do that now that he's older. You know, like, if that's the main reason he walked away, I don't know what's changed. So I think that if that's holding him up going back to college, the NFL makes a lot of sense. And I think that he'd have a great chance to get a D coordinator job or some sort of assistant. You know, there's going to be a spot for him somewhere to be an assistant. Like, Saban's one of the best of all time. And that's not like, it doesn't have to be a 4-year plan. They're not going to be like, what do you mean? You're leaving because you're old? What the hell? Like, they kind of know going in that it's not going to be forever. So I think that would make sense if he's got the coaching itch still.
You know, I always go back to this conversation I was having with Joey Harrington once, and I asked him a question about who his favorite coach of all time was. And I was thinking he would say Mike Bellotti or something like that, but he said Nick Saban. I was like, what? And it took me a moment. I was like, oh, yeah, he played for Nick Saban when he was with the Dolphins. Huh. And I didn't expect that answer, and I asked him, I said, well, why Coach Saban? What about him made him your favorite coach? And he told me that Coach Saban was honest, meaning if you signed with him or he drafted you, he would tell you exactly what his plan was for you and what your role would be, and he would use you exactly as he told you, meaning you always knew where you stood, you knew what your role was going to be. There was no confusion, no mind games. He was really honest in his approach with his players, and he said, as an NFL player, that's all you wanted is know your coach is being straight with you. And so I walked away impressed with that he had that to say about Coach Saban.
Wow, yeah, that's really interesting. And that's a Belichick trait, too. It's no wonder that Saban and Belichick are boys, you know. They've been tight for a long, long time. But that's what Belichick is famous for, too, is defining your role. There are so many players in the NFL that don't quite understand what their role is.
Yes.
Because the head coach doesn't define it.
And that's on the coach, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely it is. But that's pretty interesting that Saban, along with Belichick, they do a great job of. And it's the simplest thing, right? You know, like, here's your role. All right, you're not wide receiver 1. You're slot wide receiver. We still need you. But you're going to do the underneath stuff, the short stuff, the intermediate stuff. That's where you live. That's your job. And it's like, okay, I know what I need to do. And that goes a long way to help frame things for players. I'm surprised all coaches don't do that.
You know, Bino, I got a text message. I think it was a group text, but a guy I know, Nick, who works in Cleveland, he had sent out a message to everyone he knows, just wanted to get some feedback. Over-under on the Browns at 5.5 wins. Would you take the over or under? I responded and said under. The quarterback situation is a little bit murky for me. How do you see that playing out with Joe Flacco? And then you've got the two guys they drafted in Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders. I don't expect the Browns to be good this year because of the uncertainty at quarterback. But in the end, by the end of the season, who's going to be getting the majority of snaps under center?
Yeah, man. I don't know if Shador's going to get the majority of the snaps toward the end of the season. I don't know that Joe Flacco is going to remain upright, you know. And I mean, he's ancient, and you can't count on Kenny Pickett. So neither one of them are the quarterback of the future. So if you've got 3 wins late in the season or whatever it happens to be, why wouldn't you throw Shador Sanders in there? As long as he's, up to speed with the playbook and you're not, you can tell in practice whether a guy is at least ready enough to take his lumps on the field, or if he's not even ready to tread water on the deep end, right? Like, if he's at least ready to tread water, then I would throw Shador in there. He's got a chance to maybe be your quarterback of the future. Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett don't. So I don't know why you'd trot him out there to try to get your 4th win late in the season. I would put Shador out there late in the season.
Yeah, and I like Dylan Gabriel, the man. He was a terrific person in college, but my issue with him is the fact that he's not very tall, and he's not as athletic as a smaller guy like Kyler Murray. So it's just really hard for those smaller guys to be able to play in a conventional offense because they can't get the football over the middle of the field with the tall lineman in front of them. It's such a problem.
I know. You got to work the middle of the field, and he just doesn't. He does not. And that's a big deal. And I don't know, man. I don't know why Shador has become – it's like so emotional for a lot of people. It's turned into a very emotional topic.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the celebrating or you just don't like Shador at all, I don't care. Like, you're trying to win games, and if you're the Browns and he's got a chance to be your quarterback of the future, I would put him in there. He completed 74% of his passes. He's very accurate. He's tough as nails. I mean, there's a lot to like about Shador, the football player. I wouldn't let Shador, the guy, if he rubs you the wrong way, get in the way of that at all.
Well, and like I do, is that when it comes to a quarterback, you can be brash and be a little bit arrogant. As long as you help your team win games and you help the players around you make plays, they're going to run behind you no matter what. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, that's the funny thing is that's not gonna trouble the players at all.
No.
That's just such a fan thing where look at him, look at the wristwatch dance. A player is not going to respond like that ever because it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters as a player, if the guy next to you is productive or not.
Yes.
That's it. It cuts through all of the BS, but it doesn't do it the same way with fans.
Well, of course, Lawrence Taylor would show up to the facility oftentimes hungover and would fall asleep during meetings, but no one cared because they knew on Sunday he was going to go out there and wreak havoc.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I think many guys were disasters or what. It cuts through all of that stuff. It's so funny. Like, I don't want to go on a tirade, but what troubles people in real life, which way you vote.
Yes.
That doesn't even enter into the equation on the football field. No quarterback drops back and says, let me look for my Republican wide receivers here. Like, no, you're looking for the open guy. That's it. It cuts through all of that stuff. I wish we could behave like that. We should behave like we're on a football field, short of trying to take each other's heads off. But the mentality goes a long way. It could work for us in society too.
Yeah, I was going through a list of just little random things in life that troubled me, and I came up with about 20 things. There's a long list, but the person that and we all know this person that always wants to turn everything into a political discussion drives me crazy. It's like, dude, I'm trying to relax and have a good time here. Why you got to talk about something divisive like that?
Yeah, I know. Some people will just shoehorn it in there, and it's like, bro, it doesn't fit at all. What are we doing here? We were talking Yanks Blue Jays. How do we get on politics?
Have you ever started up a political discussion in your life? Because one of the things I love about you is like you are all ball. Like your former producer and I were talking about this the other night, like how you're all ball all the time. Like that's what I love about you. I can't imagine Bino walking into a situation and be like, I noticed in this last session of Congress that this went down. Like that's never coming out of your mouth.
No, it's not. Like it'd be staggering the amount of political issues I know nothing about. Like absolutely nothing about, because I just don't care. I don't care. And a lot of it's because of the tone of the discussions. If it was a little bit more like sports, Chad, where we can disagree, but we're not going to hate each other.
Yeah.
I probably would be more receptive to it. But when so many discussions, like families, they don't talk to each other. Good friends don't talk to. It's the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. I don't want to go into that club. I'll go into the other club over here.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, do you have any? I think you do, but I can't remember. Do you have any tattoos?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Shaq Diesel would love this. Your guy Shacker over there. But I've got a couple of tribal S's on my right arm. It's from a Brazilian heavy band named Sepultura. It was funny, Chad, because we were doing the pony crawl. And so I had this shirt. I bought a shirt just for the pony crawl. And it was a little short on the sleeves, right? So you could kind of see my tattoos. And he was like, hey, what's that tattoo? The dude at Subway. And I was like, oh, it's a symbol of a band. Hardly anybody knows this freaking band, Chad, And he goes, is that Sepultura? I was like, my man, let's go. He knew Sepultura. It was amazing. But, yeah, they're not the same. Their lead singer, Max Cavalera, he left the band a long, long time ago. So, it was more like 96-ish when Roots came out. That's the last time I really was into them. But, I still love those tattoos based on that. And I'll tell you a very funny story real quick. The tribal S on the outside is just solid black. And I was going to get a same one on the inside of my arm. And the tattoo artist was like, instead of doing all black, I was thinking, why don't you do like a little bit of white in the middle and like a little shadowing so it looks different?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's do that. It's only going to be on my arm for the rest of my life, We're just making decisions on the fly over here. But, yeah, that's the way it went down.
Interesting. I was communicating with Travis Demers today, and I know he's got a couple of tattoos, but he had told me a story once about, his dad is a musician, and he's been a singer and a songwriter for years, and he was telling me about this song that his dad wrote that's his favorite, and he said, I would like to, at some point, get a tattoo of the music sheet of that song. Well, that was a couple of years ago. Well, fast forward to today, and I got a text message with a MP3 and then also a picture of the sheet music. Travis is back in New York visiting his family, and so I got to hear the song that he was referencing and see the sheet music, and I thought, that's kind of a cool tattoo idea.
Yeah.
I don't have any tattoos, but I was trying to think, like, what would have to be significant enough for me to get a tattoo? But I thought that idea from Trav was a good one.
Get a tattoo of your dad's truck with my mattress in the back of it. Get a big back mural of that, because that was a significant day in your life,
Dude,
Chad.
I was out yesterday. I was out at a golf course in the evening, and when I was coming home, this is out in Hillsborough where I was at, I came back on Cornelius Pass. I drove right by I'm not joking, last night I drove right by the same storage unit again, and I thought about you and I bumbling around trying to strap down a mattress, and me driving in the wind and rain back to Vancouver, scared to God that thing was going to fly out of the back. And I was going to cause a massive pileup because a mattress went right in the middle of I-5. Amazing.
My favorite part of that whole day was it was raining pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And I said to you at one point, I'm like, dude, are you worried about the rain at all? And you looked at me right in the eyes and you go, oh, I'm very worried about the rain.
Dude, yeah, I love it too because your woman and your family, her family was like, they're looking at us and they're like, you got that? And you could tell that they were like, yeah, these guys have no clue of what they're doing. I think you're supposed to cinch it like this. It was a disaster. How it made it over to Vancouver is beyond my understanding.
It made it. That's awesome. That's a career win for us. That's a lifetime win that it worked out for us.
You need us to run our pie holes for 3 hours into a microphone? No problem. You need us to strap down a mattress in the back of a pickup truck in a rainstorm and wind? We can't do it, ever.
That's right. We maybe have like a 40% chance of it working out. And somehow it did.
It did. It survived, and no one died. Oh, dude. Bino. All right, buddy. I appreciate the time. You sound great. And I got this text message here. It says, hey, dropped in late, but I got some Bino. I, too, have no tattoos. When I was a youngin', I put a lightning bolt, a temporary tattoo on my shalong. True story. On that note.
That is awesome, right? I wonder if it was named along like a lightning nickname.
Shazam!
Yeah, I don't know if there's another part of that story there, but where was the lightning bolt? A lot of follow-up questions there,
yes.
Chad.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If I do dip my toes into the tattoo world, it's not going to go there. I can tell you that much.
That's awesome. That made my night right there, man.
All right, buddy. You
Shout
got
out
it.
to Lightning Schlong guy over there.
Bino! All right, later, brother.
All right, bud. Have a good night, Chad.
There you go, Bino, Fox Sports Radio. I'm not going to reveal the name of the person that sent me that text. Got to protect the innocent here. This is Bino music right here. Horrible. I love Brian O, but his taste in music is awful.
You don't want to get a matching Sepultura tattoo?
No, I don't. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. All right. Big thanks to all of our guests today. I enjoyed the conversations with Bill Oram of the Oregonian, Celeste Trapp from Hair M, and, of course, Bino, Fox Sports Radio. You can always podcast the show on our free iHeartRadio app. And we'll keep things rolling here. Looking forward to the rest of this week. Don't forget Pup City, the dog walk done each year, put on by the Trailblazers. The main nonprofit that will be in focus this weekend is One Tail at a Time, which is doing some great work. It's presented by Tavo. You can register just by heading on over to trailblazers.com. But the walk is nice because it doesn't take up a lot of time. The route in which you walk is short. I think it's like 1.3K. So it's not, really long, but it's just nice to get down there with some other dogs. And I'll be down there with Puppy Shots. They have some really good vendors that'll be on hand. Blaze, the Trail Cat's going to be down there. And I think it kicks off at 9 o'clock on Sunday. So you can register now by heading on over to trailblazers.com. I'm looking forward to it. So it should be a lot of fun. And now we just enter into some of these dog days of summer as we sit around and wait and hope for football season. So that's where we're at. But, other than that, it's pretty nice. I'm still, blown away by Dame coming back. It's pretty crazy that Dame is here and that Dame is going to be back with the Trailblazers. I can't believe it. That one still shocks me. It's wild. And I've only heard from a couple of people that didn't particularly like the move, but everyone else seems to be head over heels for the move. So there you have it. That's the deal. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I'm working on, we should have it put together here pretty soon. Take Me Up to the Ball Game. We do it each and every year where we put together a weekend up in Seattle where you can take in a 3-game set. I'll have more details on that coming up pretty soon, but we provide the game tickets and the lodging, and you can enjoy your time up in Seattle. And we've also, I'm not clear on Amtrak yet. I do like the train trip, taking the train up. It avoids the hassle of traffic, which can be substantial. I experienced that a couple of weeks ago when I went up for the concert, the weekend concert up at Lumen Field. Man, it's like even on a weekend day, it's like, ugh. On the way home, though, it was the typical 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20 to get back to Vancouver. And that's the way it was back in the day. Like, you could pretty much pencil it in. Vancouver to Seattle, like 2.5 hours, give or take a few. But now with the traffic, heck, you can't even get around Portland very easily now because the traffic is so brutal. Just brutal. It's like, ugh. But we'll have that in place pretty soon. Tomorrow on the program, Dave Softy Mahler from 93.3 FM KJR in Seattle. Want to get his take on what he's heard from NBA expansion. Would the Blazers potentially move to Seattle? He's hearing it from the other side, which is nice. We'll also get his take on the Mariners. Cal Raleigh and Softy going to join the show. I didn't get a chance to run into him. He was down last weekend for, I don't know if it was a bachelor weekend or whatever it was, but they played some golf and got him set up with a couple of tee times. And so he was down in the Portland area. All right. Big thanks to Michael Shacker, to all of you for listening today. We appreciate it. Again, you can always check out the shows on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, Rip City Radio 620, and on our free iHeartRadio app. You guys have a good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Rip City Drive.